us into a conversation that is fundamentally reshaping India's corporate identity. Global Capability Centers, GCCs, have long been India's pride. Efficient, reliable, world-class in execution. But the AI era is demanding something more. It is demanding that GCCs stop being the back office and start owning the boardroom agenda. In the AI-first enterprise, the mandate is unambiguous. Move up the value chain. Become strategic creators of intelligence, innovation, and enterprise-wide transformation. Don't just execute the AI agenda, own it. This session explores how GCCs can embed AI into core business functions, from predictive analytics and intelligent automation to AI-led product development and business intelligence. Moderating this conversation is Mr. Sachin Sharma, Managing Partner, Regenesis School of AI. I call him on stage. Sachin Sharma is the Managing Partner at Regenesis School of AI and Global Capability Center strategist with nearly 3 decades of experience in building and scaling GCCs in India. He has helped global organizations across US, Europe, and the Middle East establish their capability and innovation centers in India, working with leading organizations such as GE, Dell, Intel, Times Group, Capillary Technologies. Sachin is also a TEDx speaker, advisor to the BITS Pilani Center of Excellence programs, advisor to the Ministry of Electronics and IT, and a prominent TV panelist on national business channels. Sachin, over to you.
Thank you, Shamita, for the wonderful introduction. And thank you, all the panelists from the previous session. This was like a masterclass in the banking and financial services. I truly enjoyed this session, and I also have certain key takeaways. So now I'm excited about this particular session, which is very close to my heart, which is talking about the Global Capability Centers. To set the context, over the past 2 decades, we have seen that Global Capability Centers initially started off as cost optimization hubs. But of late, we have seen a lot of transition which is going on. The cost optimization hubs are now translating into technology centers. They are actually translating into research centers. We are building innovation. We are building new patents. We are building new technologies. And to do that, there's a lot of challenge also that we will face. So today we stand at the, another inflection point where we have the, we have to look at the AI-first enterprise. And that is what we are going to discuss today. Now, this actually brings 4 questions in my mind. Number 1, do we have the AI skills in our transformation centers, which can take the GCCs, a normal GCC, to become an AI-led GCC? The next is, do we have the enough talent available with us in India, which can take our GCCs to AI-led GCCs? And the third one, do we have the leadership which can not only lead these GCCs, but they can also build a lot of good products, transformation centers, digital transformation energies across the nation. As rightly said by the Prime Minister, his vision is that India has to invest into the global capability centers, which definitely will create millions and millions of jobs for us. And as rightly said, people who do not, when I talk to people in various forums, a lot of people say AI is going to take our jobs. And my view is that AI is not going to take anybody's jobs. In fact, AI is going to take the job of those people who refuse to learn AI. So in next 45 minutes, we are going to explore, uncover, unlearn, and then learn from our GCC champions here on this panelist. I quickly like to introduce my panels to all of you. I like to invite Mr. Rajesh Menon. He's a vice president and board member with CrowdStrike, and he's been building and scaling innovation-led GCCs across cybersecurity, energy, engineering, AI transformation. Rajesh brings a fantastic experience of 20+ years with him. So I like the clapping should go on so that we have electrifying environment here. Thank you so much, Rajesh. My next panelist is Mr. Krishna Kabra, the country head for India GCC for Orange Business Services. Krishna comes with 25 plus years of experience, and his largest focus is to build the transformation programs across IT, finance, supply chain, cloud and digital operations across India, US. My third panelist, Mr. Sharang Gaikwad, Vice President, GCC Practice with Genpact. He's a GCC champion who has not only worked in the captive but also the non-captive functions. He brings a very rich experience understanding how to scale various GCC operation models. And my fourth panelist is Mr. Sandeep Prabhani. He's a global head, digital business operation with Atos, and his expertise is to build global capability centers, and he comes with 20 plus years of experience. So, welcome all of you. I'm very happy to see you here, and I am sure we're going to have another masterclass today. In the interest of time, I'm going to ask you 12 questions. I would request if we can keep our answers within 2 minutes so that we can have the 13th question, which will go to all of you, and we can have another 60 seconds for you to answer those questions. So welcome all of you. So I'll quickly, reach out to you. The biggest important challenge that I see that many organizations are facing today is from AI experimentation to AI adoption. So what we have observed is there's a lot of projects, there's a lot of pilots which are being going on in all these, but I do not see those pilots actually converting into transformation or enterprise value deployment projects. What's your thought on that?
You will probably get there faster. Don't do it in a disconnected manner, do it in an integrated manner, point one. Point two, again, everybody spoke about it in terms of data. As an anecdote or as a simile, in Mumbai roads, with the way it is, you probably will reach faster with a two-wheeler cycle than with a Mercedes or a BMW. So you have pockets of data, and I think, again, to what Manish was saying, you have so many different products. You have a specialized system in each product. You have onboarding for those systems. You have governances for those systems. You have different regulations on each business line. How do you integrate that? How do you make it horizontal? So unless data is democratized and made consistent across all multiple systems, you can't take scale. Third, it's a cultural problem also. I mean, AI is not just technical, but it's also cultural. If everybody in the CEO says, AI should replace tasks or humans, your pilots are going to fail. If AI is going to augment humans, you can succeed. And the last would be, in my opinion, the manner of governance of AI. And I think, again, companies and GCCs are adopting chief AI officer or chief innovation officer, or chief transformation officer, where you are looking at centralized governance, but you must give decentralized execution, and you must give authority and power and accountability. I think if an organization can do these four things in a seamless manner, you're setting up the scale, you're setting up the groundwork for your innovation to scale.
Well, that's an excellent point. In fact, during my conferences, I hear a lot about people operating in silos, and there's data democratization which needs to be done. I will come to you, Sharang, on my next question. So, according to you, what do you think is a real barrier right now across the GCC? In order to scale the AI technical capability, is that a challenge, or do we have autonomy from the headquarters, wherein they are kind of trying to control, because not many people actually talk about the autonomy from headquarters?
Got it. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Been a real pleasure. So, very interesting question. I'll answer it in both parts. One in terms of scale of AI and the other is autonomy. Scale of AI is very overlapping with what my colleague Sandeep said and what the other panels also said, where you need to have a governance around it. I've had experience where somewhere a company is doing supply chain, has its own AI, is piloting somewhere. IT has its own AI, finance has its own AI, and teams are piloting in their own ways. While that is good, it encourages people to try things of their own. There is no centralized governance. What is being successful? What is falling off? Where are the investments not going the way it is? So in terms of scaling, if there are many GCCs or GBS centers around the world, you can't have an India first strategy only for AI. I mean, you of course can, but it needs to trickle down that how and where are we implementing use cases. So the governance format that has worked is bringing leaders into the room, identifying your lowest hanging fruits with highest ROIs, doubling down on them what use cases are, and then piloting it for 2 to 3 months, and then looking to see what kind of impact has been coming. So unless you have a trickle down layer of use cases across functions, across the enterprise, governed by a central team, it need not be a CEO, but it can be a business transformation arm, can be a AI COE. That is a mechanism, an ideal mechanism that can work to scale. The second point was in terms of your ownership. Well, I see a lot of GCs struggling between having decision power here versus like getting orders from the HQ, and that's absolutely fine, it's real. But the way about is, one potential way around it is co-building the strategy along with your parent. Like if it's say an AI strategy, can you look to be part of the discussions where, hey, what use cases are being implemented? Or can you look to be part of the discussions where what technology platform rollout is happening? If you're able to plug yourself in, even if it's in an influencer way or even if it's in a receiver way, that is a start to co-building and owning that, hey, this was discussed at a global level, this is how to implement it. Because if you're only at the receiver end, then it might be tough to communicate the message also to the team because you've only received it and not co-created it. So that's how I would put it.
So my next question, just to add on here. So do you think it is all about co-creating, or do you somewhere also feel that there is a pain where the leaders in India, they are not allowed to take certain decisions? And this is something which I have been raising across all the platforms. So I would be really honest to you on my question, and I want you to be brutally honest while answering this particular question.
I think there is sometimes a sense of trust or insecurity from the parent that can come in, and it's absolutely fine. It's human or natural because they're also piloting or doing and experimenting with something like that. And what GCCs go through is a maturity curve of building trust slowly. It's not, hey, now you do that on your own and it's done. It's slow proof of concepts or slow proving that, hey, now you've done L1 support, now maybe you can do L2 support. Hey, now you can start to develop and start building products together. But it can't happen like a big bang. Very few companies do the big bang, and the big bang mostly happens with service providers like us because we've proven some concept or some areas like, hey, now build a GCC and do like a BOTT. But if it's a GCC, it happens slowly, and that's how the journey and the curve is. Like Target is a great example of starting small, but then eventually becoming a second headquarter of the company where the company cannot now function without the Bangalore center. So it's a great case study, but yeah, it's slow proof of points and then eventually reaching there.
Yep. So, for years, the success matrix of any GCC was always considered to be how cost optimized you are. And there was always a push. I still remember when I started off in 2000 with Genpact. That time people used to say, we are only talking about what is the cost per seat, what is the calling price, hourly rate and things like that. But today, now we are talking about transforming into value creators. Now my view is, since I interact with a lot of GCCs, right? I mean, on various platforms we talk about innovation, we talk about creating value, but our mindset is still the same. We are still operating in cost optimization model, right? I want you to, throw some light on this. What concrete enterprise metrics actually differentiate or demonstrate that the GCC is actually now migrating from cost optimization hub to a value creation hub?
Yeah, I think it needs to be very specific in terms of value creation, very broad term, right? Like, and I want to give examples here. So a tire manufacturing company, for example, we don't know the tire industry as much, but tires need to be developed. About 600 odd tires are developed every year because of rubber component or any sort of like the material in it, what goes in it, and the efficiency of it, temperature and humid conditions, etc. So what a GCI node did is created a platform for R&D and modeled these factors, weather, rubber, the metal, the durability, etc., to identify how do you build the next tire faster, and they got the time down by 50%. And that's directly influencing your business outcome. You can launch 2x the products that you want. So similarly, I know another chemical company that's put an AI platform for R&D where 30 terabytes of data went into the platform so that the next molecule to be discovered can come in faster because of AI modeling. And that's shown like 30% faster R&D. So there are specific pockets of examples where you can influence a potential new product development, or for example, using data to make better sales. For example, I know a client which is looking at, hey, my production data is sitting in my manufacturing system, like how much factory stock is available. And my finance data or what sales distributor data is sitting in my, say, SAP or ERP. Can you use two of the data and tell my sales guys what will sell to whom, where, and push sales? So that kind of project. So you're directly influencing business outcomes from India through these small projects and wins. So that is value.
If I can just add to it, right at the time of the setting up of the GCC, if the objective to set up the GCC is to get a lower cost center created, then trying to move that GCC onto product ownership is going to be difficult. So if you start with the premise that I am setting up a company in India, that company will ultimately end up doing this. I may start with this, but the goal of that company is, as he said, develop tires or develop products. I may start with something else. Then you staff it accordingly, you govern it accordingly. You don't even get into the metrics of cost. You directly get into the metrics of revenue, and you measure it in that way. If the company treats an India office differently as compared to, for example, if let's say a tire company were to set up a separate office from the east coast to the west coast. When he sets it up on the west coast, he will not look at cost per seat. He will not look at cost per call, or he will not look at, he will have different metrics. Why treat India differently? Because if you treat it differently, you're not going to achieve your objective.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, there's a word which Sharang used, influence. And I want to further build on this thing, and I'll come to you, Krishna. You've been with Orange Business Services. You have seen the complete journey from cost optimization to building capability center here. How do you think, or how difficult is this for a GCC leader to reposition yourself from a delivery center or a delivery head to become an innovation center and influence the global enterprise decisions?
Yeah, thanks. Very good question. So, I have seen kind of 20 years of maturity of GCC, very different times. But now I think GCC movement is here in India. So I want to give you an example that if GCC doesn't exist, then what will happen? Yeah, so let's take a simple example on India. What will happen? India, maybe 2% of GDP, 4% of services industry will get impacted. Maybe 2 million jobs are now there, and maybe another 4 or 5 million jobs are just supporting these 2 million. So such a huge impact will be there. So I think GCC movement is there for India. But more important for, I think, global perspective, if GCC closed down, I think you will have no payment to any vendor, no 24/7 support anywhere in the world. Maybe all airport will close down in maybe a couple of days' time. So that kind of impact GCC is bringing. So from these numbers perspective, I don't think now that narrative is that whether it's just a back office. I think we need to, these numbers itself reflect that we need to be a transformation engine and not just a sake of transformation engine or treating the transformation engine. I think you need to act as a transformation engine and drive. And I think what parent our kind of organization are looking at is not cost arbitrage or KPIs and functional, I think, incremental improvement, but I think they are really looking at how much impact we are creating on top line, bottom line, or how much customer experience really this GCC is bringing on and adding to value. So that's where I think narrative need to change, storytelling need to change, and still I feel 10% of GCCs are doing that, and 90% are still in that mode. And but that's the opportunity, and our numbers, 50% of global GCCs are here. Itself says that we need to move towards that.
Yeah, as rightly said by you, 90% of GCCs today are still going through those traditional structures. Now, you know, with the GCCs getting evolving, we also see the business model, the operating models also getting evolved. We cannot afford to be around the traditional way of doing the, you know, GCC business out here in India. Now, you know, it's another question to you, Krishna. Do you think the future GCCs continue to be structured around traditional functions? Or will we start seeing a transformation which is moving from traditional to AI-driven capability centers?
Right. I think again
and of course platform ownership.
Yeah. So very good question. So survival of the fittest. I think we the companies who will change, I think will going to survive. So my I think looking at history and things are moving so fast. So I feel around 50% of GCCs, their operating model will going to change in next 2 to 3 years. Our traditional model as of now is very, very center of excellence focused. Means we have finance center of excellence, and we do procurement to pay, to HR, to all kind of tech support and all that. So it's a function specific model in GCC, which is great. I think there is a huge loyalty towards the function. I am a finance guy, I do this, I do that. But now, and then they are taking AI as a enabler to drive. But now, I don't think that will going to help. I think AI itself is a function. It's not a enabler within a finance process or a tech process and all that. So maybe fundamental shift is required, that AI is a platform, AI is, or a tech is a platform, and maybe that functional loyalty need to change. That's created a real silos and very small incremental efficiency gain we are seeing. But now I think with the transformation, there is a huge opportunity. So I think this certain organizations are changing very fast. They are using the platform. For example, we are also started little way. Instead of a network operations, we are a connectivity cloud cybersecurity organization with kind of 10,000 people in India. So we have a huge network operations. And network operations means undersea cable to satellite to terrestrial to optic fiber, we manage globally. So typical earlier thing used to be a network operations center and all that. But now I don't think that will going to just survive. So thinking is, instead of a ops, maybe a platform which will help organization to buy how much connectivity you need, how much compute you need, what all things you need, and then you do it yourself. So that kind of a platformization is happening. So which is completely changing your functional boundaries, so that there is no knock or sock and all that. So from that perspective, I think platformization will definitely going to be the case, and all the center of excellence will go away. And new kind of AI is a function, and then finance can use it to transform by 40% gain, HR can use, tech can use, all that. So I think that transformation, I think some companies have started adopting and then seeing a great benefit in it.
The one word that I would just want to add is that if GCCs and companies don't change, I mean, if you don't own the global innovation engine, we might get automated out of existence.
True, true. I'll come to you, Rajesh. You have been part of this journey with CrowdStrike from 250 million to 20 billion. I want to have your thoughts on this. Are GCCs prepared to take the ownership of global AI center of excellence in India, or maybe take the ownership of platform engineering mandates or enterprise automation? What's your thought on this?
First of all, good afternoon, guys. I just want to give you a small introduction. My name is Rajesh Menon. I represent CrowdStrike. It's a cybersecurity organization. Well, the AI wave, if you notice, we've said it infinite number of times within the same room, right? And apparently, I think everybody's pretty much basking on the thought process of let's move it this way, and AI is going to be the game changer for all of it. But if you dig deep in reality, sounds very aspirational. Everybody wants to have a prefix or postfix of AI into what they're currently doing as an organization. But honestly, we feel good about the fact that India is going to be the GCC center, the hub which is going to be really creating huge value propositions and the kind of jobs we're looking forward to. But are we going to be really making an impact with AI? I think we're quite far away from where we are, to be honest. There is no unified model of GCC going on now. I mean, if you look at it, they are in so much of different brackets where few of them are still moving away from a business services to capability services. Few of them are already claimed to be innovation centers. GICs, they've gone forward to that. But how much of AI is going to make an impact? I mean, if you give a dipstick check to understand, there was once a movement called transformation. Everybody wanted to use transformation. Everybody wanted RPA, robotic processes, MLs to be part of their GCC process. But then, even before it got relevant, it's not quite there. And GCCs have survived in that. So I think AI model is definitely a conversation everybody wants to underline with how their GCC operations needs to work through. But it's a far-fetched reality as long as everybody defines what they really need. And most importantly, AI now is very theoretical. Everybody's talking about AI, but what can AI do and how much it's going to be tailor-driven for each of the GCCs and where their models are, it's yet to be found out. I mean, we don't have one ERP system which all of us work. There's someone on SAP, there's someone on Oracle, there's someone on legacy NetSuites. You never know how these going to change, right? And the fundamentals, if you're not getting your platforms right and the fundamental thought process, AI makes a big difference. I think it's more about understanding what AI can do than saying that let's all become part of an AI.
Very true, very true. In fact, to ensure that we have AI-led GCCs, we need to get the platforms right. And the most important aspect is we need to get our workforce strategy correct. And I think if as an organization we fail on the workforce strategy, or we are not able to build the kind of talent which is required to build AI-led GCCs, then I think that's where we are going to lose the bus. I'll come to you, Sandeep. We are all talking about the AI impact. Not all enterprise functions are moving at the pace that they are expected to be, but I think at this point of time, the talent transformation remains a common challenge across all the GCCs. When we interact with a lot of GCCs, most of the time we talk about the skill set. How do we build your skill set? What's your thought on redesigning the complete GCC workforce strategy to make sure that we have the enough talent available, we have the right kind of people, they understand the job, they understand what are the expectations from them, and they build a AI certified or unified GCC?
So I think the war for talent is there, it's real. But at the same time, I think what all organizations should do is to provide a significant amount of context and clarity to every one of its employees. If every one of the employees understands the purpose behind why they are doing what they are doing, the implications of what will happen if they don't do it, and what will be the impact to the P&L of the client, not just the client, but the client of the clients, it's only then that there is a significant amount of purpose that is built in. AI fluency is one part, but data ethics, risk is very important. Again, I think Manish spoke that if some persons do not need to have access to data, then the output so generated by agentic AI also should not be accessible to them. Therefore, training not just engineers, but I think every individual who's working in the organization on the power of AI, how to use AI in your work, and what are the pitfalls of AI is very, very crucial to ensure that you train your existing workforce into being better versions of them. The more the CEO or the seniors support the cultural alignment that AI will not take your job, but it is there to help you better. And as I think somebody said, the early wave of computerization gave a risk that jobs will be lost in banks, and today AI, the same pattern is being repeated today. You're predicting mass collapse of virtually every industry, because if every job is lost, then people will not need to buy soaps, shampoos, tires, cars, nothing. So does this mean that the world will end in some way or the other? No, it's just going to get transformed. So what you need to do is to have the right attitude and train for skills. And I think that's really important. Get the people with the right attitude. You can always train them.
Thank you, Sandeep. You made a very good point. You make your customers successful, and in the process, the customers make their customers successful. So I think it's a food chain up, and that is where the GCC comes into the picture, because we are solving a lot of problems. Coming to you, Rajesh, since you have been with CrowdStrike, and I'm sure you have experienced this thing, do you think upskilling the existing workforce is a viable option, or do you think we need to look at options wherein we can have deployment-ready AI talent from external authorities or organizations?
See, upscale is every time. It's for relevant, right? You have to do that. But then, if you look at how this needs to really make an impact within the organization, one, domain expertise is extremely important. You can't make do without it, right? So whoever's learned what they've learned so far, that's going to stay relevant. But alongside, if you're not scaling with what's the latest technology out there, and if you're going to be doing repetitive workforce, I think it's not sustainable. And that's where you're talking about data analytics, financial analytics, compliance AI analytics is extremely important. And that becomes a part where someone who understands domain expertise and comes into the organization understands what AI can make an impact, what it can form as a catalyst, and how it can enable your output, which is going to be more efficient. Like you said, we talk about cost arbitrage, but cost arbitrage has moved to a point where it's ROI now. So it's about how compliant, how efficient, how less redundant, and how fast you're going to be turning out your operations. So you're moving away from mass to better skilled, high proficient workforces. And so I think it's a combination of both. Someone within the organization has to upskill. You need to understand what's there. Anybody who you're hiring as a data engineer or agentic engineer has to come in to understand what's needed out of them than just a plug and play format, which is never going to be sustainable.
Interesting point. So while there are certain things, in a GCC there are two spectrums to it. One which is in our control, another one which is beyond our control. So upskilling the people is definitely part of our workforce strategy. We can always control it. We can have people skilled on various things. But the other part is more painful. Attracting and retailing that AI talent, right? I mean, the kind of attrition that we see in GCCs is very high. So I want to come to you, Sandeep. What are the hardest challenges today that you see in a GCC in order to attract and retain this AI specialized talent?
We saw this, again, problem during the, I think, COVID times, where from a digital transformation perspective, the kind of attrition that was there on IT folks had just gone sky high, and people were just demanding obscene salaries. and being very ruthless about it. The same is happening now. And therefore, I think upskilling internal people is very important because they have the domain as well and the context of the organization. So retaining them is important. For among the Gen Z people or the people with the right skill sets today, purpose is very important. You need to really know why you're doing that. If you are hiring talent here in a GCC to do an execution work, you're not going to be able to retain that individual for a very, very long time. But if you can actually empower that individual, that you are actually helping to design a new product or reduce the time to market for a particular thing or make a significant difference in the regulatory environment of your company, then that's a purpose that you're giving to that individual. The second thing is, of course, compensation is also, very important. When you empower people with that kind of thing, giving them compensation at potentially at an India level, you'll have to benchmark it with what's available in the market and the outcome. So that also becomes a very, very big factor that goes in. So these are the two things which I think the companies must need to solve: how to empower and how to benchmark with the right compensation.
Excellent point. I'll come to you, Rajesh. While a company will definitely give purpose, you offer excellent compensation, you do all those retention strategies, but still we are losing a lot of talent. And we need to also understand that do we have a parallel ecosystem where we can not only source the talent, but we can also build talent. I want to have your thoughts on how can we build, partnership with startups, with university programs, right? With the ecosystem partners who can actually support the GCCs by, enabling this particular pipeline and ensuring that we have enough talent available or we have a deployment-ready talent available for all these partners.
I'm going to tailgate a little bit of Sandeep's response on this one. First thing, we need to understand, unlike any workforce management, India is very different. We see opportunities are in millions, right? Your attrition is never going to go away. Your numbers are always going to go up. I mean, clearly, when we have two states of dialogue saying that one, we lose a job, another one is this person going to be staying with us? You're going to find attrition. The more growth, everybody wants to have the most well-known person in the organization to move around. So that's going to be a part of it. While we do that, how do we back it up? I think retention is one way of doing it. You can have compensations, you can upskill them. Promotions supposed to be happening in India more faster than any other globally, anywhere else, what people understand, and that's also retention. But what needs to change, I think, it needs to start from, there are interns and contractual programs are becoming huge these days, where a lot of GCCs are looking in that direction. I mean, catch them young, the Gen Zs, what they look forward to. The legacy theoretical book culture is moving out, right? And you're talking about what are you enhancing skills? How can you bring, what can you keep you more involved in the organization? And that way, we are building a huge intern programs where we've tied up with some amazing B school unis, and we're talking about how the curriculums are going to change from going on. So there's a part of AI which becomes how to influence what they should be doing and going forward. It's more about what's forthcoming than what's existing. That change is absolutely happening. So intern programs are going to become very, very relevant, and it's one way of how you're going to fill in the gaps of attrition much faster. Second, upscaling is absolutely important because I think that's going to be the new existing relevant KPI across the organization. How you have learned your domain expertise and married it along with what's the new AI platform which is in there and what's the genetic AI you understand and where you're making an impact. These guys are the ones who are going to be making the big difference in the organization. So I think both ways it's going to make a huge impact, and it's going to be out there very soon.
Great point. So now I think I'll come to my last question, which I'll open it to all of you, and we have about 35 to 45 seconds for each person to answer. Do you think we will continue as a cost optimization hubs in India, wherein we only do execution of the strategies and decisions taken somewhere else? Or do you think in the coming days, we are going to become the value creators, the innovation creators in India? Starting from you, Rajesh.
think we 80% of us are still working as execution centers. I'll be very candid and honest about it, right? And now everybody understands that India has become a center where everybody wants their global hubs to start operating from. So you have organizations from all kind of business functions who just want to move in there. Now, after a while, it's a wonderful growing bubble. There's a brilliant story which everybody thinks it's going to be a success story, but I believe that in the next 3 to 5 years, it's a bubble which is about who sustains. It's going to burst out. I mean, everybody's thinking in the GCC way, we're talking about AI ways, but finally it's about what value propositions as a global hub you create. And if you're not creating that, and you're not adding back to the business, and if you're just going to retain to be a back office, middle office operation center, I think it's not going to be that. Because anybody who's talking about GCCs, there is a huge conversation among our people saying that, I have a 500-member GCC, 300-member GCC, not sustainable. I have an efficient GCC which is making an impact where we make decisions and we add to the business. They're going to go a long way. I think they're the ones who are going to, they're the game changers actually on the GCC level.
Perfect. Sharang?
I think it's a good question again. And while I acknowledge my colleague Rajesh's point that 80% of the GCCs are still executioners, but I fundamentally believe this is going to shift. And the reason for that is as AI as a technology advances, it is going to be almost always outcome driven. Like it's not going to be setting up a finance COE, but the number of invoices processed by your agent and how many anomalies you found. Or it's always going to be very output and outcome driven because that's the fundamental nature of AI. Humans will be validating what the machine is processing for you, and what machine processes for you is significantly going to improve in the next 3-4 years. So my sense is it's going to be a natural shift towards value, while agreeing that who don't adopt it will have to see the end game.
Thank you, Sharang. Sandeep?
Yeah, I echo what the others have said. With AI, the cost arbitrage and distance becomes irrelevant. It's all about ownership. It's not about who designs the AI. In India, we have to move to designing the kind of problems that AI will solve. If we cannot become the global innovation engine, as I said, we will be automated out of existence. If today 80% are, or 90%, as I think somebody mentioned, are still execution, by 2030, you're staring at those many GCCs being shut or being, as I said, automated. You've got to move. You don't have a choice. The faster you understand, the global HQs understand, the better it will be. Else it will be trouble.
Thank you, Sandeep. Krishna?
I just want to echo what just mentioned. But I have seen a trend that last maybe 15-20 years, the strategic roles and important decision making was not there. But last 2-3 years, I think that shift is a significant shift. Even I have observed in our organization. So I think that will change significantly. And obviously, we can't be just a delivery arm forever. So I think the acceleration will definitely be most important now.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much, all of you. So I'd like to conclude this session, and my view is that in case India has to be front runner, right? We also have a lot of competition worldwide. There are neighboring countries who are coming up as the GCC centers. You'll be surprised to know that there's a lot of investment going on in Pakistan also to become the GCC country. But at the same time, it's important that we start thinking that AI is important. It's a necessity. It's not an option, number one. Number two, in case we have to be the value creators, we also need to understand that AI adoption is very, very important. Third thing, to make sure that we have a complete ecosystem, we also need to have partners with us who can give us skilling, the partners who can give us the advisory services, the partners who can bring a lot of expertise in form of consulting, and the partners who can not only give us the skilling part, but they can also help us get the right talent, train the right talent. On this note, I want to thank all of you for being here, for taking out time to attend this session. Thank you very much. We have time for one question. Anybody would like to take the question?
Yeah. So as you know, the theme is AI for Viksit Bharat, right? So my question will be more on we have all been talking about value creation, right? So let's say as a GCC in India, right? What will be that irreplaceable value which we'll create, right? In this AI first world, right? So which will not be replicated across, but it will be done from India. Maybe in one or two words, right? What will be that irreplaceable value which we'll create as a GCC?
Maybe I can just chime in on it briefly. So we don't see a lot of product companies for the world from India right yet. There are a few, very limited. But as more GCCs evolve, as more ownership comes here, as more products are supported here, built from here, you will see that that talent pool will get so much better understanding of how the world runs and how global products are built and owned and integrated, that the next generation of global product developers or startups might come from GCCs because of this. So that's one irreplaceable value I can think of, say 5 to 10 years later.
Add to it, building that ecosystem is very important. So, when a say a car manufacturer wants to set up a factory, you will always find that you will have a tire manufacturer close by, you will have all the equipment manufacturers close by, because that's how the whole ecosystem is built. So along with R&D, along with product design, the entire ecosystem of staffing, of research, of payments, everything, if set up in a very, very, interlinked manner, that ability to deliver value to the ultimate end client, would be probably very difficult to replicate because of the kind of scale that we have.
So
I'm going to give you one more on that one. I'm just going to wrap this fast, but if you look at it, why India is a GCC hub? If you look at it, there's no other country we're talking about. Yeah, everybody wants to be part of the story. I think one thing which is going to stay very relevant is we're going to be having products, organizations which are going to be working, doing things, expectations much faster, turnarounds. The only place which we really dynamically we can adapt fast, and I'm very strong about the thought process. If you look at it, we are talking about 1,700 GCCs which are there. By end of 2030, we're talking about 2,500. We're already talking about a 240 billion market. These are just not projections. These are absolutely relevant, which are going to be there. It's going to turn around numbers. So that way, what's going to stay relevant is we're going to be ahead of pacey about the rest of the world, what we can do. I think what we can learn up and adapt is going to really remain. So that's going to remain. I mean, data centers, technologies will change. We'll move away from financial centers. But a lot of that is definitely going to make a difference. But we will be ready for it.
Thank you. So product first, and then creating an ecosystem and learning and upskilling, right? So that kind of resonates with us because Regenesis has been like in the upskilling business.
And one point is, the parent countries, they need to start empowering. That's where the challenge is, right? I mean, we have a very strong leadership. We can build products. We can build digital transformation, outlets, innovation labs. But if the parent company does not have trust in the leadership in India and they continue to take decisions and ask them to execute those decisions, I think that is where the biggest gap which will come in. Because the leaders in India, they understand the ecosystem. We understand the kind of talent which is available. We understand the kind of expertise we have available. So they will be able to stitch the story in much more effective way rather than somebody sitting in a boardroom there and trying to make assessments about the Indian ecosystem. That is my submission. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sachin, for the brilliant facilitation. And to our outstanding panelists, thank you. I'd like to call on Dr. Marku Sharavanya, Chairman of Regenesis Group, to come and felicitate our speakers. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have we got a group photograph?